Earth, the third planet from the sun, is bathed in the splendor of nature. Its beauty resonates in our oceans and mountains, rivers and waterfalls.
Hold it! This video presentation isn't about the beauty of nature. It's about the call of nature.
The what?
Welcome to Follow That Flush. Now, with a title like Follow That Flush, just what do you suppose this video could be all about?
How should I put this? Going potty?
Well, how should I put this? Wrong! This video is not about waste. It's about water. You see, the Earth has a finite amount of life's most precious commodity, water. Just think about it for a minute. As important as water is to all living things, water can't be created. What we have today is all we're going to get. But what it can be is recycled and treated. And that is what this program is all about.
I'm impressed. How do you know all this?
Well, that's easy. I'm a distinguished scientist. And my specialty is wastewater treatment.
I bet you've been the butt of a lot of jokes.
Yeah, as if I've never heard that one before. Now, here's another interesting fact. A lot of people mistakenly believe that storm drains and sewers are the same, but they're not.
They're not?
Nope, they're not. They serve two entirely different purposes, and that difference is very important.
And you're going to tell us what that difference is.
You guessed it. Vive la différence. The gutters in our streets collect water runoffs from the rain and from our neighborhoods and carry it here to open storm drains. From here, the storm drains carry those runoffs directly to our ocean. What's important to remember is that the water in our storm drains is not treated before it's discharged into the ocean.
It's not?
No, it's not. That's why it's so important to remember, never pour anything down your gutter or your storm drain that you don't want to be swimming in the ocean. Now, sewage, or wastewater as I like to call it, is treated in a wide variety of ways. And that is where our story begins.
You mean it's time to follow that flush?
That's right, baby.
I was kidding.
Ah, but I'm not. So hold on to your socks. Or whatever. Today, every man, woman, and child contributes between 50 and 100 gallons of wastewater to our city's collection system every day.
Wow, that's a lot of,
Watch it.
waste.
You're learning. The city collects that sewage, or
Wastewater.
through a maze of over 400 miles of underground pipes that virtually crisscross our city. But even more demanding than residential wastes are the industrial discharges generated by our city's business community. Such companies are subjected to regular and unannounced inspections by wastewater personnel to ensure compliance with all local, state, and federal regulations. Others, such as this one, maintain their own facilities to pre-treat their discharges prior to entering the city's collection system. Now here's a riddle. What does this foot and the city of Oxnard have in common?
I'm afraid to ask.
They're both flat. You see, the city of Oxnard is built on an alluvial or flat plain. And since water can only flow downhill, the city's wastewater must be pumped up so that it can flow down. This modern marvel of engineering is accomplished through the use of almost 24 pumping stations such as this one. located throughout the city, which lift the wastewater to a level high enough to allow it to flow more freely.
And where do they flow to?
Right here, to the city of Oxnard's wastewater treatment plant, a state-of-the-art facility with the capacity to handle over 32 million gallons of raw sewage a day.
Wow, now that is a lot of
Watch it!
waste.
That's right, waste. Or more correctly, wastewater.
In order to meet the city's growing treatment demands, this facility combines the very latest in technology and innovation, and it all begins right here at the bar screen. It's here that the city's wastewater first enters the treatment facility.
Hey, now here's a party fact for you. What do you call wastewater that flows into the treatment facility?
What kind of parties do you go to?
I go to great parties, thank you very much. Now listen and learn. The wastewater that flows into the treatment facility is called the influent. Get it? Influent? Flowing in?
I certainly feel better knowing that.
Good! I knew he would.
Yet only about 1% of the influent or arriving wastewater are actual pollutants. However, before treatment can begin on those pollutants, all objects larger than an inch, such as rags, must be removed or screened out. And that's the job of the bar screen.
Isn't this exciting? But there is so much more I want to show you, so come on, follow the girl in the white coat. I love my job!
Great.
The next step in the purification process is here at the clarifiers or sedimentation tanks.
Make up your mind, which is it? A clarifier or a sedimentation tank?
It's both. You see, it helps clarify the water by allowing the heavier sediments in the water to sink to the bottom, like this.
In the first part of the process, lighter elements, such as grease and oil, float to the top, where a skimmer removes them for special processing.
At this point, the incoming wastewater, or
Influent.
is already 35 to 40% cleaner than when it first arrived here at the treatment facility. But it still has a long way to go, and we are going with it. In the secondary stage of this processing, air and bacteria are added to the wastewater.
The air gives life and energy to the bacteria, and in turn, the live bacteria actually ingest or eat. Or to put it another way, they make a 5-course gourmet meal out of the remaining pollutants.
Cool, huh?
I'm not sure that would be the word I'd use.
Now, this area of the treatment plant is called the secondary clarifiers.
Remember in the first set of clarifiers how the heavier pollutants are separated by falling to the bottom of the tank?
It's an image forever branded in my mind.
And that's a good thing. Now, the same thing happens all over again here, except what falls to the bottom of these tanks are the live bacteria. Do you know why?
I'm afraid to ask.
Well, don't be, because it's science, and science is the bomb.
The live bacteria fall to the bottom of these tanks because after eating all those pollutants, their little bellies are full. And full bellies are heavy, heavier than the water that supports them.
Consequently, they sink, are recovered, and recirculated to be used again. Basically, they come back for seconds, while the remaining wastewater goes on to its next stage of treatment. Now, as I mentioned, when the raw sewage flows into the treatment facility, it's called the influent, with an I. But when the treated or processed water flows out of the facility, it's now called the effluent, with an E.
Why?
I don't know why. It's a science kind of a thing. But before the effluent or treated water can be discharged into the ocean, it must undergo 2 more cleansing processes.
The first of those processes takes place right here, where chlorine is added to remove any remaining harmful or disease-producing organisms.
That's a good thing.
You know it, baby. Finally, To ensure that the chlorine additive doesn't damage our ocean's delicate ecosystem,
Harmless chemicals are added to the process to neutralize the chlorine and making this discharged water called the
effluent.
as pure or purer than the ocean waters into which it is discharged.
Well, that works for the liquid waste, but what about, you know, the other stuff?
great question. And that brings us right here to the next step in our tour, the digester tanks. Let's go!
The what?
Uh-huh. You heard correctly. These are called digester tanks. They're like giant stomachs. They're called digester tanks because that's exactly what goes on in there. Those solid materials gathered from the sedimentation tanks and the clarifiers are brought here, where they're fed to billions of microorganisms who in turn digest them and make their own waste product in the form of methane gas and a solid called sludge.
You've got to be kidding.
No, I'm really not kidding. It's true. Of course, we scientists don't really call it sludge. We call it biosolids. Cool, huh? Come on, I'll show you.
I'm not sure I want to see this.
Come on, what's the matter? You'll love it. It's science at its best. Come on.
Methane gas, one of the byproducts of the biodegradation or digestive process, is sent here to the facility's cogeneration station, where it is used to generate approximately 60%. That is a lot. That's 60% of the facility's electrical power needs. Now, the digestive or the biodegradation process is very complex and takes several steps to first stabilize and then remove all of the excess water from the remaining biosolids.
You mean sludge?
That's right, sludge. But then they do something really unique with that sludge.
I'm not sure I'm ready for this.
They farm it! Oh, come on. I'll show you.
Every week, approximately 40 to 50 tons of biosolids, or sludge, are loaded into trucks like this one and trucked to a farm where the biosolids are unloaded and then plowed into land that up to now has been non-productive. Consequently, the nutrient-rich biosolids have transformed this land into fertile farms where crops like cotton and milo for animal feed are being grown.
Gee, that could give a whole new meaning to the riddle. How does your garden grow?
Cute. Now, let's review. Arriving wastewater or
Influent.
That's right. The remaining wastewater materials, or influent,
are sent here to the clarifiers or sedimentation tanks where additional solids and materials are removed. In the next stage of treatment, air and bacteria are added to the influent in order to eliminate the remaining water-based pollutants. The residual wastewater, now called
Effluent.
correct.
the effluent, are then treated with a measure of chlorine to destroy any remaining disease-producing organisms. Next, the chlorine itself is removed and the resulting water is now pure enough to be returned to the ocean or even used for landscaping purposes. The waste solids are sent to giant digester tanks where they undergo a process called biodegradation. Then, through a multi-step process, the solids are literally fed to hungry little microorganisms, which in turn digest the materials and produce their own waste products in the form of methane gas and solids called sludge.
That's not what scientists call it.
Well, you're right. We actually call it a lot of things. But in public, we mostly call it biosolids.
The methane gas is used to help power the treatment plant, and the remaining biosolids are trucked to a farm where they help to fertilize land for farming. But that's only part of the story. Throughout the entire treatment process, the water is sampled at 20 different sites. And in turn, those samples undergo hundreds of tests to ensure all federal, environmental, health, and safety standards are met and/or exceeded. Even the ocean's discharge areas are monitored to ensure the effluent has not harmed local fishing and marine life. The testing equipment utilized by this highly trained staff is so sophisticated, it is capable of detecting 1 particle of pollutant per billion parts of wastewater.
And that is like the size of an Oreo cookie in the middle of Yankee Stadium.
That small?
That's small. But don't let that fool you, because Oxnard's wastewater treatment facility has some really big plans for the future. Plans that'll affect each and every one of us. And it's all good. Come on, I'll show you.
Our community is the largest and fastest growing city in the county. But with a growing population comes a growing demand for water.
But remember, the Earth's supply of water is finite. We can't create new water, but we can reclaim it, treat it, and recycle it.
And when built, that's exactly what this facility will do.
On an average day, the City of Oxnard's wastewater facility will process between 20 to 25 million gallons of wastewater.
Once processed and treated, currently those millions of gallons of purified water are simply discharged back into the ocean.
But all that is about to change.
As part of the GREAT program, with the completion of this cutting-edge, state-of-the-art, advanced water purification facility,
the already processed, reprocessed, treated, and cleansed water will still undergo even more treatment and sanitizing procedures. And once these additional processing steps are completed, this new water...
New water? Is that a scientific term?
No, it's my term. Anyway, as I was saying, once these additional processing steps are completed,
this new water can then be diverted for industrial processes and the growing of agricultural crops.
Think about it.
Through the dedication and efforts of our city's planning specialists, soon, each and every day, literally tens of millions of gallons of water will be saved and reused through this process, thus protecting our city's supply of fresh water and assuring our residents clean and affordable water well into this century.
And there you have it, the whole story. How the staff at the City of Oxnard's wastewater facility are using cutting-edge science and technology to meet the needs of today while planning for the challenges of tomorrow.
That is science at work for you. Science is the bomb.